Hello, and welcome to What Doth a Reenactor Do Whilst on Quarantine, brought to you by the 2nd Company of Virginia Regiment. I am here tonight to show you a little bit of hearth cooking. Next week is supposed to be our market fair week, and we have obviously had that canceled. And the biggest part of market fair, aside from the shopping, is the camp cooking. So since I will not be doing that this week or next week, I want to show you a bit of home cooking while I'm quarantined. First off, I will not be cooking a Colonial meal, but I will be cooking in Colonial style. So some of the implements that they used to use back in the 18th century would be a cast iron or copper pot or skillet. This is for frying your steaks, potatoes, pancakes, things like that. Another item they would use is a kettle. Kettles are good for boiling water, making stew, any kind of puddings, other food items like that as well. And then finally, the ultimate system is the Dutch oven. The Dutch oven did exist in the 18th century. It consists of a lid, a heavy cast iron lid, and a cast iron pot. You can use this to make stews. You can use it as a skillet if you need to, if this is the only thing you have. And you can also use it to bake bread, make pies, or anything else that you would normally use an oven for. Now granted, during the 18th century, they didn't have modern ovens like we have. They didn't have gas grills, they didn't have electric or anything like that, so they did have to cook on a fire. And yes, we do cook on a fire during our living histories. So here's my hearth fire. It's a simple fire, it's the same thing that it would have done, except most of the times the kitchens in colonial period were much larger than this. But I'm going to attempt to make a stew or a soup in my fireplace. So first off, I'm going to use the kettle, since I am making a soup. And since we are on quarantine, and most likely you have run out of fresh food and you're using your canned foods and things like that, I'm going to show you a simple dish. So I'm going to cook chicken tortilla soup with the canned items that I have available. First off, I do have frozen corn, and you may have canned corn, but take about a cup of that, and you can use that depending on the size of your family, of course. I'm cooking for 2 people and an infant. Another item is canned black beans. Just 1 can should suffice, again, depending on the size of your family or who you're cooking for, which during these times would be under 10 people. A can of canned chicken. If you have leftover fresh chicken or grilled chicken, you can use that as well. But I'm assuming that you're in quarantine, haven't been able to get out to the store to get fresh food, so we're down to the canned stuff. And last but not least, at least an 8-ounce jar of salsa, depending on your taste. You can have hot, mild, or medium. We particularly have medium here. Gives it a little extra spice, but it doesn't blow your socks off. And then about 4 cups of water. So I'm going to add these ingredients to the pot. Maybe. Had my fire going, it's nice and hot. And I have a hook that's connected up to the flue area. I'm hoping that the whole pan does not, or the whole pot does not drop, but we'll see. So I have the chicken, the beans, the corn, the salsa. Use that whole can, give it nice good flavor. And then finally the water. You don't want too terribly much because you don't want to over drown your soup. You want those flavors to really sift in and simmer into the soup. I'm going to save a little bit of those 4 cups to add in case it does cook down a bit, because it's going to cook for about an hour. So now that I have all my ingredients mixed, I'm going to set it over the fire. Now I want to get it to boil first, so I'm going to get it down low. Closer to the fire. And as that boils, I'm going to want to have it simmer for a little bit longer, so I'm going to actually try to move it up farther away from the fire, or at least let the fire die down a bit. The one thing about cooking over a fire is temperature control. It can be very difficult, especially over a campfire. So you really have to watch your flames and watch how close you are to the fire with the items you're cooking. Soups you can boil, pretty well. It's not as delicate as maybe frying eggs or bacon or something like that, where you want a smaller temperature, not as hot and more regulated. So what you can do is I have a trivet here, and so if I wanted to cook something over the skillet, or maybe a boil or make some coffee or something like that, I'm going to take some coals, pull it out of the fire. You can set your trivet over those coals, and then you would set whatever you're cooking on top. Now as the coals cool off, you can obviously add more to them to keep the heat going, but you can also, it's not as hot as being right over the fire. So that's how you would do that in the colonial period. Just cook your smallish items over coals like I am here, and cook larger items, pots and things like that, over your fire directly. With the Dutch oven, you would cook that over coals as well. So you're going to put your coals underneath the Dutch oven and on top as well, and that gives the whole oven sufficient heat and uniform heat throughout, so you can bake like you were in an actual modern oven. So what does a reenactor do when he can't do his hobby? I'm used to going out and doing living history and talking about my hobby and talking about history with many, many people, as well as my friends that are in my unit, the 2nd Company of Virginia Regiment. And being quarantined, you miss that a lot. So we do small items like hearth cooking or sewing. I'm also the company tailor, so I've been making uniforms for some of our members and members of other units as well. You can play colonial games, watch movies. It's hard for a reenactor when we can't interact with people. So this is why I'm making this video, to try to interact with people, give you a little idea of what you can do at home with modern food, colonial equipment, and a fireplace. So if your power goes out for some reason, people are sick and they can't manage the electricity, so you have no power, but you do have a fireplace. Now you know how you can cook over the fire. Anyway, I'm going to let this boil for a while and see how it turns out, and then I'll come back and show you. But I hope you have a wonderful evening, and look forward to be presenting some other items, such as our different impressions. We do the Virginia Regiment, we do 60th Royal American Light Company, we do Virginia Rangers or Scouts, and we also do French Milice. So over the period of the next few weeks while I'm on quarantine, I'm going to try to show you some of our uniforms and our equipment that we use, and talk about our different impressions, and possibly our camp, different shelters that you can have, like A-frame tent, a lean-to, or a diamond fly. And of course I have to wait for the weather to be better. It's a little chilly today, so that's why I'm cooking over the fire. Anyway, hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you soon. Hello and welcome back to What Doth the Reenactor Do Whilst on Quarantine. I have finished cooking the soup and it's been simmering for a good hour, and I'm going to show you it too really quick. Maybe. Here's the soup. Stir that up real good. Nice hearty soup. I'm going to crumble up some tortilla chips in here eventually, but I'm going to taste this real quick. Let's see how it tastes. Sorry about my filming here. It's good. Good flavor. Good hearty soup. Nice and nice warm soup on a cold day. Well, enjoy your evening and your dinners, and I will see you soon. Bye.